Good evening. Welcome in daily UPSC editorial audio program. One Nation, Many Polls. The Times of India. Cracking the code. M means minimum. All things small and vulnerable. The Economic Times. Now the full editorial. One Nation, Many Polls. The Times of India. Simultaneous polls are a good idea, but given multipolar polity, get more parties on board. A high-level committee led by Ramnath Kovind tasked to examine the feasibility of simultaneous elections for all levels of government has recommended India transition to this system. This can happen by 2029. Synchronizing Lok Sabha and Assembly elections doesn't face a shift challenge as the relevant constitutional change will not require ratification by state assemblies. However, synchronizing local body elections and electoral rolls will need the concurrence of at least half the state assemblies. India started off with simultaneous simultaneous elections. That was the general case till about 1967. Subsequently, election cycle diverged of the Coven committee's arguments. Let's start with the most convincing one to rebut the synchronized elections. Limits administrative burden. A typical Lok Sabha election involves at least 7 million officials seconded to election duty. Schools are used as polling booths, and there is large deployment of paramilitary forces. The same process, though on the smaller scale, is repeated for assembly elections. Synchronization allows for more efficient use of resources. Impact of economic performance. Coven Committee's study on the likely economic benefits of simultaneous election is unconvincing. Economic growth is a complex process, therefore distilling its driver to narrow dimensions such as election cycle is not persuasive. Moreover, data shows that in India, high growth phase began in 1980s, long after the election cycle turned as asynchronous. Un- Uncertain areas. Some of the other aspects cited in favor of simultaneous elections are hard to judge. For example, Bill built build descent into a danger zone of identity politics really be checked by it to illustrate reservation agitations and related political positioning are not always linked to an imminent election. Lack of unanimity. As many as 47 political parties gave their opinion of them, 15 parties, or almost 1 in 3, opposed the idea of simultaneous election. This is important as state assemblies will have to pay the price of synchronization. Coven Committee wants synchronization to be liked to be linked to term of Lok Sabha. According to the committee, this can be brought about without the concurrence of states. GST example. GST is a highlight of India's political journey as states voluntarily surrendered unilateral taxation power for a larger cause. It required years of work across two central government to get their support. Persuasion is a virtue in a democracy. Simultaneous elections will cause a disruptive change. That's not the problem. If more political stakeholders support it before Government of India takes the next step. Cracking the code. India has finally played itself into the semicon game. Now keep at it to master chip tech. Modi's laying of the foundation stone of three semiconductor plants this week gives India chip making dream a shot in the arm. Crucially, one of the three units will be India's first commercial chip fab in Gujarat's Dholera. That's the great move. Learning by doing. The Dholera fab is expected to churn out 28 nm chips by end 2026. That's not earth shattering. The most advanced chips in the market today are 3 nm. Both Taiwan's TSMC and South Korea's Samsung also plan to move to 2 nm production. But what's vital for India right now is to get the basics right and create a semicon ecosystem. chip Chip plants need stable power supply, energy grade silicon, millions of gallons of water per day, and high tech talent. These can't be consumed overnight. So semicon testing, assembly, and packing plants like the ones being set up in Gujarat's uh, Sanand and Assam's Morigaon to help in creating required supply chains. Chip wars. All of this is partly being driven by a desire among Western democracies to diversify away take supply chains from China, a China plus strategy. But this field is crowded with Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, etc. also in play, so it will ultimately boil down to tech resources. Talent tonic. India doesn't have a dearth of talent here, with around 20% top global talent in chip design, but they work for foreign companies, harnessing harnessing this talent for Indian companies. Making Indian chips is the business trick. It's geopolitics, baby. Semicon tech is constantly evolving. TSMC holds 90% market share in advanced chips. Taiwanese collab like at Dholera for chip making in India is welcome, but don't expect high tech transfers. Taiwan's semicon industry is a shield against potential Chinese attack. So India needs to put in the legwork and build its own capabilities if it is to emerge as a key global chip hub. M means minimum. Farmers gathered in Delhi yesterday again demanding legally guaranteed MSP as a law per se is not a problem. Problem is farmers' definition of a good price. See Rangarajan and S. Mahendra Dev. Rangarajan is a former governor. RBI Dev is former chairman, Commission for Agriculture, Cost and Prices. Most farmers, mostly from states around Delhi, held a Maha Panchayat in the capital yesterday to put forth their demand on changes they want in agriculture policy. The core demand is about minimum support price (MSP), the manner in which it is fixed, and legal backing for it. Economics of MSP demand. When output increases well beyond the market demand at a price remu- remunerative to producers, market prices decline. Therefore, in the absence of an effective price support policy, farmers are faced with a loss of income depending on how much the price decline is. The farm distress has been partly on account of this situation, as the loss of income is beyond the ability of the small farmers to absorb. Legal guarantee possible. MSP scheme has been in existence for several decades, and it is particularly effective for rice and wheat crops. The legal guarantee for MSP can be introduced, but there is a few issues that need to be clarified before launching. Two benefits of PDS. In the case of wheat and rice, the prescription of MSP has been combined with total procurement of all the gains offered at the price and a public distribution system through which the procured grains are distributed. Thus, it combines protection to producers with protection to consumers. PDS sale price is far less than the price at which the cereal are procured, resulting in a huge subsidy to be borne by central government. According to Government of India's budget, food subsidies this fiscal will amount to a little over 2 lakh crore, defining legal MSP. In this context, two questions arise. First, do we need to extend such a scheme to all crops? Second, in the context of a legalized MSP, which means that nobody can buy at a price lower than MSP, what should be the precise interpretation? We need to mark a distinction between the remunerative price and MSP. Cereals are unique. What we have done with respect to wheat and rice cannot be replicated. A huge marketing structure, including storage facilities, will have to be built. There are alternative ways like limited procurement when private market will continue to have a role so that the two together will stabilize market price at MSP. As of now, besides wheat and rice, there are 21 other crops, including some commercial crops for which MSPs are officially announced, but there is procurement only in some years. Let's talk about cost. In fixing MSP, we need to consider three type of cost. A2, it represents the cost actually incurred by farmers. A2 plus FL to the cost actually incurred by farmers. Government of India assumes a value uh, for the work value for the work a farmer's family puts in during a crop cycle. C2 is truly comprehensive. It takes A2 plus FL and adds on an assumed value for interest on the fixed capital used in agricultural operations together with a rental value of a farmer's own land. C2 represents the economic cost of growing a crop. How MSP works. Presently, the government provides MSP that is equal to 50% above A2 plus FL. Farmers want MSP to be fixed at 50% above C2. C2 cost is 31% higher than A2 plus FL for paddy in 2023-24. In the case of wheat, C2 cost over A2 plus FL is 46%. A very high margin of 50% over C2 cost will result in Government of India becoming the only procurer. Such a situation would become unsustainable. How to work out legal MSP. A legally binding MSP must have only a small margin of say 10%. If C2 is considered, it should take care of the price uncertainty induced by the markets. Otherwise, we are distorting the words minimum and support. Don't forget in interstate differences. MSP is fixed based on the weighted average cost for all India. However, the cost of production varies across states. The projected A2FL cost of production for paddy was lowest at rupees 864 per quintal in Punjab due to higher yield as compared to all India cost of 1455 per quintal. Among top 5 producers of paddy in the country, which accounted for 52.5% production share of projected states during 2021-22. Punjab has the lowest A2 plus FL low, low, FL cost of production, while West Bengal has the highest cost of production at 1766 per quintal. Productivity matters. For the highest and low yield states, legal MSP alone may not help. These states should reduce cost of cultivation and income yields in order to have higher profit margins over cost. The institutional arrangements to ensure fair and competitive markets are also essential for MSP to play its role in providing a protective price environment for the farmers. In conclusion, the real issue is not giving legal status to MSP. It can be done, but the most important decision is how we conceive the concepts minimum and support in MSP. The MS Swaminathan Commission recommendation of C2 plus 50 needs some modification. The Economic Times. All all things small and valuation dissociated from earnings potential. SEBI is trying to temper the runaway growth in retail investment into mid and small caps by asking mutual fund houses to release fortnightly stress test reports starting this week and to ensure equal treatment of investors during highlighted market vol- uh, volatility as we saw this week. These interventions have become necessary because small cap funds are drawing in nearly 15 times the money flowing into large cap funds. The Nifty small cap index is up by 33% in the last 6 months against a 14% rise in the Nifty 50. There has also been a surge in listing by small companies, and SEBI is concerned retail investor may not adequately appreciate the special risk of investing in this market segment. Small caps are especially prone to price manipulation, which tend to amplify volatility on display this week, essentially in Wednesday's bubble bath on DST. The rise in listing by small companies is a reflection of India's strong economic performance and a healthy diversion of capital to sectors most in need. But it comes with the added risk of performance disappointment if GDP growth is not as robust as investors are projecting. Valuations in pockets of small and mid caps have dissociated from earnings potential, which bears out SEBI's view of fourth, if not an outright bubble. Fund houses are telling their retail clients to cut leverage positions and are discouraging lump sum investment in small caps in anticipation of a deep correction in this segment. The warnings from the regulatory and the mutual fund industry are an attempt to divert a bigger portion of the rising tide of retail investments towards large caps, where the market really rally may still have some legs. India is the most expensive emerging markets and cannot remain unaffected by a flight to safety if global growth falters. The market is heeding warnings and counter measures by SEBI over pockets of irrational exuberance, but these may not be enough to protect retail investors jumping into the last stages of a bull market. Thank you.